It was a cold and rainy afternoon when Emily was driving home after a long day. The sky was heavy with dark clouds, and raindrops tapped against the windshield of her old, beat-up car. She wiped the glass with the sleeve of her worn jacket, trying to see the road clearly. The streets were quiet, almost empty, except for a few cars passing by quickly, their headlights cutting through the foggy air. Emily's mind was busy, worrying about many things at once. She had just finished a double shift at the small diner, where she worked. The job was tiring, and she barely had time to eat anything during the day. Her feet ached, her back was sore, and she was already thinking about how to manage dinner for her son Liam when she got home. The small amount of money she earned was never enough, and every penny had to be counted carefully. Yet, despite the exhaustion, she was determined to keep going. For Liam, she had to be strong. Her old car was not in good shape either. It coughed and rattled as she drove, sometimes stalling for a moment before catching again. It was the only car she had, bought second-hand from a friend who needed quick money. Emily loved the car because it helped her get to work and pick up Liam from daycare. But today, the fuel light was blinking, and she knew she needed to stop soon for gas. She glanced nervously at the dashboard. She hoped she could make it to the station nearby. Suddenly, as she turned a corner, her eyes caught sight of a shiny, black car parked on the side of the road. Its hazard lights blinked slowly, warning other drivers. The contrast was sharp. Her small, old car and this luxury vehicle with polished chrome wheels and tinted windows. The driver's door was open, and a man was standing outside looking frustrated as he bent down near the front tire. Emily slowed down, considering whether to keep driving. It was late, the weather was bad, and she was tired. Most people would have just passed by without stopping. But something about the man caught her attention. Maybe it was the way he looked helpless, or maybe it was the little voice inside her that always told her to help others if she could. She pulled over carefully, parking her car behind his. The man looked up, surprised to see her stop. He was tall and well-dressed, wearing a long dark coat and polished shoes that were out of place in this neighborhood. His hair was neat, and he had an air of confidence, but right now he seemed uneasy. Emily stepped out, clutching a small toolbox she always kept in her car. It was a modest box, with a few basic tools she had learned to use over the years. She smiled warmly and said, "Hi, looks like you could use some help." The man nodded, grateful but still unsure. "Yes, I think I have a flat tire," he said. "I don't have the right tools with me." Emily opened her toolbox and pulled out a jack and a wrench. She had changed tires before, though it wasn't easy. The man watched as she got down on the wet ground, careful not to get her clothes dirty. She worked quickly but carefully, loosening the bolts and lifting the car. The rain had slowed down to a drizzle now, but the cold was creeping into Emily's bones. Still, she didn't complain. She focused on the task, not minding the cold or the dirt. After a few minutes, she removed the flat tire and took out the spare. The man handed her the tire with a small smile. "You really know what you're doing," he said. "Thank you. I'm Nathan, by the way." Emily wiped her hands on her jacket and smiled back. "I'm Emily. It's no problem. I've had to fix my car plenty of times." As she tightened the bolts, Nathan glanced at her car parked behind his. It looked old and worn, the paint chipped in many places, but it was clear she took care of it as best as she could. Once the tire was secure, Emily stood up and looked at Nathan. "You should be careful driving with a flat. Did you check the other tires too?" Nathan shook his head. "No, I wasn't paying attention." Emily nodded. "Better safe than sorry. You should get them checked soon." Nathan laughed softly. "I'll take your advice. I'm not used to dealing with these kinds of problems." Emily smiled again, feeling a strange connection with this man who came from a very different world than hers. As she packed up her tools, Nathan reached into his pocket and pulled out some cash. "Please let me pay you. You helped me a lot." Emily shook her head, her eyes kind but firm. I'm just doing what I think is right. No need for money. Nathan was surprised. Most people in his life would have accepted the money or even asked for more. But Emily didn't. She was different. Emily looked down at her hand where a simple gold ring shone despite the dirt and wear. Nathan noticed it too, his eyes lingering for a moment. "You have a ring," Nathan said softly, curious. "Are you married?" Emily's smile faltered for a moment. "No," she said quietly. "I'm a single mom. That ring, it's just a reminder, a promise I made to myself." Nathan didn't ask more, sensing it was a private story. Emily got back into her car and started the engine, feeling a little lighter. She waved goodbye to Nathan, who watched her drive away with a thoughtful expression. As she pulled back onto the road, Emily thought about how strange the day had been. Helping a millionaire fix his car was not something she expected. But sometimes life surprises you when you least expect it. Nathan stood by the roadside for a moment longer, feeling something unfamiliar. Gratitude? Respect? Maybe a little of both. He looked down at the ring on Emily's finger. Simple, unadorned, but powerful. It was a symbol of strength, something Nathan didn't often see in the polished world he lived in. He knew he wanted to learn more about this woman who had helped him without expecting anything in return. Meanwhile, Emily drove home through the rain, thinking about Liam waiting for her. She smiled, knowing that even on the toughest days, she had the power to make a difference. Not just for her son, but sometimes for strangers too. And that promise she carried on her finger? It was stronger than ever. After that rainy afternoon, Nathan couldn't stop thinking about Emily. The image of her, crouched on the roadside changing his flat tire without complaint, kept coming back to him. He was a millionaire, someone used to having everything handed to him. But here was a woman who had no reason to help a stranger, especially not someone like him. Yet she had done it with kindness and without expecting anything in return. That kind of honesty and strength was rare in his world. Nathan lived in a world far different from Emily's. His days were filled with meetings, big decisions, and luxury. But despite all the success, something about Emily's simple, honest nature touched him deeply. He realized that meeting her was like a fresh breeze in the stuffy life he had been living. At first, Nathan thought it was just a passing thought, but soon he found himself wondering more about her life. Who was she really? What was her story? That ring on her finger puzzled him the most. He couldn't stop thinking about it. She said she was a single mom, but why wear a ring if she wasn't married? There was something more to that small detail. He decided to ask his assistant to find out more about Emily. Not to invade her privacy, but because he genuinely wanted to understand her better. He wasn't interested in business connections or networking. He just wanted to learn about the woman who had helped him so selflessly. Within a day, his assistant found some information. Emily worked as a waitress at a small diner in a quiet part of town. She lived in a modest apartment and raised her young son, Liam, on her own. She was known in the community as a kind and hard-working woman who volunteered at the local community center during weekends. Nathan studied the information closely. There was no record of a husband or partner in her life. The ring, he realized, was something unique to her, a symbol of a promise she made to herself. This made him respect her even more. Meanwhile, Emily's life continued much the same as before. Her days were long and tiring, but she never complained. When she told Liam about the fancy man with the broken car, they both laughed. Liam was a lively boy, full of energy, and he loved hearing stories about new people. Emily enjoyed these moments, knowing that despite all their struggles, they had each other. But when she was alone, her thoughts often drifted to that ring on her finger. It wasn't just a piece of jewelry. It represented her vow to be strong for Liam, to never give up no matter how hard life got. The ring reminded her that she didn't need someone else to complete her. She was enough. Emily's past was not easy. Years ago, her husband had left shortly after Liam was born. It was a painful time, filled with heartbreak and uncertainty. But she refused to let that define her. She made a decision to keep going, to create a better life for her son, no matter what. The ring she wore was cheap and simple, bought at a small shop near the diner. But for Emily, it was priceless. It was a symbol of resilience, hope, and determination. Nathan, on the other hand, felt a strange pull toward her story. He had never met anyone quite like Emily before. His life, full of luxury and comfort, sometimes felt lonely. He admired her courage and strength from afar. One day Nathan decided to visit the diner where Emily worked. He wanted to see her again, to thank her properly, and maybe get to know her better. When he walked in, the smell of coffee and freshly baked bread filled the air. The diner was small and cozy, with a few customers chatting quietly. Emily was behind the counter, wiping down tables and greeting customers with a warm smile. When she saw Nathan, her eyes widened in surprise. She didn't expect to see him again so soon. Nathan smiled and walked over. "Hi, Emily. I just wanted to stop by and thank you again for helping me the other day." Emily nodded politely, but kept things professional. "No problem. I'm glad your car is working fine now." Nathan noticed the tiredness in her eyes, but also the strength beneath it. He decided to order lunch for the entire staff as a small gesture of gratitude. Emily was touched but hesitant. She wasn't used to accepting favors, especially from strangers. As they talked, Liam suddenly appeared, running through the door, from the back room. He threw his arms around Emily's legs, laughing. Nathan crouched down and smiled at the boy, feeling an immediate connection. Liam's innocence and energy warmed his heart. Emily watched the interaction quietly, feeling a mix of emotions. It was strange to see a wealthy man so gentle with her son. It gave her hope that maybe, just maybe, not all people from Nathan's world were as distant as she thought. Nathan asked Emily about her life gently, sensing her reluctance to share too much. Over time, she opened up a little, revealing pieces of her story. She spoke about the challenges of raising Liam alone and the dreams she held for his future. Nathan listened with genuine interest, respecting her honesty. When she finally mentioned the ring, she explained how it was a personal promise, not about marriage or love from someone else, but a commitment to herself and her son. Nathan felt moved. He realized that Emily's strength was something he had never truly appreciated before. Her ring was more than a symbol. It was a testament to her courage and independence. As days turned into weeks, Nathan and Emily began to see more of each other. Nathan's visits to the diner became regular, and their conversations grew deeper. Nathan started to admire Emily's resilience and her ability to find joy in simple things, despite life's hardships. Emily, meanwhile, found comfort in Nathan's company. He was different from anyone she had known, kind, patient, and genuinely interested in her life. But she remained cautious. She knew that accepting help or friendship from a millionaire could be complicated. Throughout it all, Emily kept her ring on her finger. It reminded her of who she was and what she stood for. It was a boundary she wasn't ready to cross just yet. Nathan respected that. He didn't want to rush anything. He wanted to earn her trust and show her that he valued her for who she was. Not for what she could do for him, and certainly not as someone to be saved. Their story was beginning, not as a fairy tale, but as two people from very different worlds finding a connection based on respect, honesty, and shared humanity. Emily's simple ring remained a quiet symbol of strength, a promise she carried with pride. And Nathan's curiosity and admiration grew stronger every day. The path ahead was uncertain, but one thing was clear. Both of their lives were about to change forever. Days passed since Nathan's first visit to the diner, but Emily's life kept moving in its usual rhythm. She woke up early every morning, prepared breakfast for Liam, got him ready for daycare, and then headed to work. The diner was small but busy, and Emily was known for her quick smile and hard work. Even though life was tough, she carried herself with quiet pride. Raising Liam alone wasn't easy, but every small moment with him made the struggle worthwhile. Nathan had become a familiar face around the diner. He didn't come every day, but often enough to be noticed. He would sit quietly, watching Emily work, sometimes talking to her for a few minutes. The other waiters whispered among themselves, who was this wealthy man who seemed so interested in their colleague? Emily didn't talk much about it. She wanted to keep things simple, keep her world separate. One afternoon, as Emily was wiping tables, Liam came running into the diner with a big grin on his face. He was full of energy, and his laughter filled the room. Nathan smiled broadly at the boy. For the first time he saw not just Emily, but the whole world she was living in. A world full of love, responsibility, and hope. Nathan bent down to Liam's level and handed him a small toy car he had bought earlier. Liam's eyes lit up, and he hugged the gift tightly. Emily watched the moment quietly, feeling a strange mix of gratitude and caution. She appreciated Nathan's kindness, but didn't want Liam to get used to the idea that help came from wealthy strangers. She had to protect him. After Liam ran back to his seat, Nathan took a deep breath and decided to open up more to Emily. He asked her gently about her life, her dreams, and her struggles. At first, Emily was hesitant. She wasn't used to sharing her story with strangers, especially not men like Nathan. But there was something about his kindness that made her feel safe. Slowly, Emily started telling him bits and pieces of her past. She spoke about her early days as a young wife and mother, the joy she felt when Liam was born, and the heartbreak when her husband left them. Her voice trembled slightly as she shared how hard it had been to face life alone, without support. Nathan listened silently, his heart aching for her pain. He realized how much strength it took for Emily to keep going every day. She wasn't just a waitress or a single mom. She was a fighter. Then Emily reached up and touched the ring on her finger. Nathan noticed immediately. It was simple and plain, but it shone with meaning. Emily explained that the ring was not from a husband or boyfriend. It was a promise she made to herself, a symbol of strength and resilience. She had bought it during a difficult time, as a reminder that she would never give up. Nathan was moved by her words. He admired her courage and the way she had taken control of her life despite everything. The ring was more than jewelry. It was a badge of honor. Their conversations continued over the following weeks. Nathan found himself coming back to the diner more often, not just out of gratitude, but because he wanted to know Emily better. He was fascinated by her honesty and the simple joy she found in life's small moments. Emily, too, found comfort in Nathan's presence. He wasn't like the men she had met before. He listened without judgment and never pressured her. Still, she kept her guard up. She was a mother first and foremost, and protecting Liam was her top priority. One day, Nathan surprised Emily by inviting her to visit his company's community center project. It was a new initiative to help families in need, and he wanted her advice. Emily was unsure at first. She didn't think someone like her had a place in a big corporation's plans. But Nathan insisted, saying her real-world experience was exactly what they needed. Reluctantly, Emily agreed. She went to the community center and saw firsthand the resources and help being offered to people like her. She met families struggling to make ends meet and realized how much her voice could matter. Working with Nathan on the project brought them closer. They shared ideas, laughed at small mistakes, and learned from each other. Nathan saw Emily's strength and wisdom shine through. Emily saw Nathan's genuine desire to make a difference, not just write checks. Despite their growing friendship, Emily never forgot the ring on her finger. It was still there, a reminder of her promise to herself and Liam. Nathan noticed she always kept it on, even during their meetings and outings. One evening, after a long day at the community center, Nathan and Emily sat together, watching the sunset. Nathan turned to her and said, "You're incredible, Emily. I've never met anyone as strong as you." Emily smiled softly but didn't say much. She wasn't ready to let him in completely. Not yet. Nathan understood. He didn't want to rush her or change who she was. He wanted to be someone she could trust. Their relationship was unfolding slowly, built on respect and understanding. Nathan admired Emily's independence and resilience. Emily appreciated Nathan's kindness and patience. The ring on Emily's finger remained a silent symbol of her journey, the battles she had fought, and the strength she carried inside. As the days went by, Nathan's admiration for Emily grew stronger. He wanted to be part of her life, not as a savior, but as a partner who would walk beside her. Emily, meanwhile, was learning to trust again. She was beginning to believe that maybe, just maybe, she didn't have to face life's challenges alone. Their story was just beginning, a story of two very different people brought together by chance, respect, and the quiet power of a simple ring. The weeks that followed brought many changes to both Emily and Nathan's lives, though they tried to keep things as normal as possible. Emily's days were still busy, filled with work at the diner, caring for Liam, and managing the small apartment they called home. But something in the air had shifted. There was a quiet excitement she couldn't quite explain, a feeling that maybe life was starting to open new doors. Nathan, on the other hand, was more restless than usual. The meeting rooms and polished offices of his company felt colder and less important. He found himself thinking about Emily often, about her strength and the promise she carried in that simple ring. He admired her resilience, but more than that, he wanted to be part of her world, to help her without changing who she was. One rainy afternoon, much like the day they had first met, Nathan drove to the diner. The streets were slick with water, and the sound of raindrops against the car roof was steady and soothing. Emily was just finishing her shift, wiping down tables and smiling at customers who came in to escape the weather. Nathan walked in quietly, and Emily looked up in surprise. She wasn't expecting him today. He held out a small box wrapped in shiny paper. "For you," he said simply. Emily blinked, unsure. She wasn't used to gifts, especially not from someone like Nathan. She hesitated, then carefully took the box. Inside was a delicate necklace with a small charm, a ring just like the one she wore on her finger. Nathan smiled gently. "I wanted you to have this, a reminder that you're strong and that I'm here for you." Emily felt her throat tighten. She looked down at her own ring and then back at the necklace. It wasn't about the money or the luxury. It was about the thought behind it. Someone saw her strength and wanted to honor it. But even with this growing closeness, Emily's life wasn't without challenges. Raising Liam alone was a constant struggle. Money was tight, and the fear of the future sometimes overwhelmed her. Nathan's world of wealth and privilege felt like a distant dream she wasn't sure she could reach. One evening, after putting Liam to bed, Emily sat by the window, the necklace resting on the table. She thought about Nathan's kindness and the connection growing between them. But deep down, she wondered if she could ever truly trust someone again. Nathan, meanwhile, faced his own doubts. He wanted to support Emily, but he also worried about overwhelming her. He didn't want to come across as a savior, but rather as an equal partner. The walls he had built around himself over the years were starting to crumble, and for the first time, he felt vulnerable. Their lives began to intertwine more naturally. Nathan started inviting Emily and Liam to events and outings, not as a millionaire and a waitress, but as friends. He wanted Liam to see that life could be full of joy and new experiences. At one such picnic in the park, Liam ran freely, laughing and chasing butterflies. Emily watched him with a smile, feeling a rare moment of peace. Nathan sat beside her on the bench, handing her a cup of tea. "It's good to see you smile like this," he said quietly. Emily looked at him, her eyes softening. "You've brought a lot of happiness into our lives," she admitted. "Nathan," shook his head. "No, you've brought it. I'm just lucky to be here." As the seasons changed, so did their relationship. They grew closer, sharing stories, hopes, and fears. Nathan learned about Emily's dreams for Liam, to give him a life full of opportunities and love. Emily saw Nathan not as a wealthy man, but as someone who cared deeply, someone willing to stand by her side. But with closeness came the challenges of trust. Emily was careful to keep her guard up. The past had taught her to be cautious. She wasn't ready to give her heart away lightly. One rainy night, as they sat together on Emily's small couch, Nathan took her hand in his. The rain tapped softly against the windows. "Emily," he said gently, "I know you've been through a lot. I don't want to rush anything. I just want to be here for you, for both of you." Emily looked at his sincere eyes and felt the walls around her heart begin to crack. She squeezed his hand, feeling hope flicker inside her. The ring on her finger, the necklace around her neck, both were symbols of strength, resilience, and the promise of new beginnings. They were building something real, something honest. Life was still not easy, but together they found a new kind of strength, one that came from love, respect, and the courage to believe in each other. Their journey was far from over. There were still obstacles ahead. But Emily and Nathan faced them with a quiet confidence, knowing they were no longer alone. And as the rain outside gave way to the first light of dawn, they held on to the promise of a brighter future, one where hope and love would always find a way. Time moved forward, and with it came changes, challenges, and moments of joy that Emily, Nathan, and Liam would never forget. Their relationship, once just a chance meeting on a rainy roadside, had grown into something meaningful, something neither had expected but both welcomed. Emily still wore the simple ring on her finger, the symbol of her promise and strength. Nathan had given her a delicate necklace with a ring charm, a symbol of the new bond they were forming. But more than symbols, they had begun to build a life together, a life based on trust, respect, and deep care. Emily's days remained busy. Raising Liam was still her top priority, and work at the diner never slowed down. But Nathan's presence brought new hope and opportunities. He wanted to help in ways that respected her independence. He never wanted to take over her life or make her feel like she owed him anything. Instead, he offered support as a friend, a partner, and a believer in her strength. One weekend, Nathan surprised Emily with tickets to a community event, a charity gala to raise funds for single parents and struggling families. Emily was nervous. She had never been to such events before, and the idea of entering Nathan's world of glitz and glamour was intimidating. But Nathan assured her, "You belong. There. You've earned your place." With Liam by her side, Emily dressed in a simple but elegant outfit Nathan helped her pick out. As they arrived at the gala, Emily felt out of place at first, surrounded by wealthy faces and fancy dresses. But Nathan stayed close, introducing her as his guest and as the incredible woman who had changed his life. Throughout the night, Emily talked openly with others about her experiences, her hopes for Liam, and the importance of community support. People listened, inspired by her honesty and courage. Nathan watched her with pride, knowing she was stronger than any spotlight or luxury. At one point, Nathan's close friends and family gathered around, curious about Emily and Liam. Emily met them with her quiet confidence. Nathan's family could see the woman who had stood by Nathan's side, the mother who worked tirelessly for her son's future. Slowly, the walls between their worlds began to fade. Emily and Nathan's story became one of connection, healing, and new beginnings. But life was never without its challenges. There were moments of doubt and fear. Emily sometimes wondered if she was ready to fully open her heart to Nathan, afraid of losing the independence she cherished so deeply. Nathan sometimes worried that his world was too different, that he might not understand the daily struggles Emily faced. One evening, after Liam was asleep, they sat together in Emily's living room, talking honestly about their fears. Nathan reached out and held Emily's hand. "We don't have to have all the answers right now," he said softly. "We just have to be honest and patient with each other." Emily nodded, tears in her eyes. "I want to believe in us, Nathan. I want to believe that we can build something real." And build they did. Over the following months, Nathan and Emily's relationship grew deeper. They spent weekends exploring parks, reading stories to Liam, and cooking simple meals together. Nathan helped Emily find better work opportunities, but he never pushed. He respected her pace. Emily introduced Nathan to Liam's world, the playgrounds, the small birthday parties, and the quiet moments before bed. Nathan embraced these moments with open arms, seeing the beauty in the everyday. One day, Nathan took Emily and Liam to a small beach. The sun was warm, the waves gentle. They built sand castles and laughed, a family united not by perfect circumstances, but by love and choice. Emily looked at Nathan, her heart full. The man who once was a stranger with a broken car had become her partner in every sense. The ring on her finger glimmered in the sunlight, a testament to the journey they had traveled. Nathan smiled, knowing that the real treasure was not wealth or status, but the life they were creating together. The story of Emily, Nathan, and Liam was one of hope. Hope that love can be found in unexpected places, that strength comes from within, and that the bonds we choose can change everything. The sun set on that perfect day. Emily felt peace like never before. She wasn't just a single mom anymore. She was part of a family, a story of courage and love that would continue to grow. And Nathan, once lost in his world of riches, found a new purpose: to walk beside the woman and child who had taught him the true meaning of strength. Their future was not written in stone, but it was theirs to create, together.